Hi everybody. Now, you've heard of the term you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I'm an old dog, but I enjoy playing new games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, and therefore I do need to learn new tricks. And one of the ways that kind of helps me is by recording the silly mistakes I make in some of my games and writing down what I could do differently next time, or I should have done differently at the time. Now, I don't do a log for every game I play. I'm not that serious. Plus the fact that every single PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds match I play, I will make a silly mistake in it. And if I wrote them all down, I'd never get to play it much at all. But anyway, these are just ones where something happens and I think, oh, that was a bit stupid. If I'd done this differently, I'd maybe got out of that situation alive. And hopefully then, if I come across a similar situation or a situation that's the same, I'll do the right thing. So this is it's a Word type document that I've opened up in Google Docs, so I can access it from my phone, wherever I'm logged in as on Google Docs, and it's just a simple table. And basically it's split into the type of drop, solo, duo, squads, where I'm dropping, if I've got a specific place, what is the goal of that game, am I just doing some practice, or am I doing a win run, am I chasing the centre, how many kills I got, what position was, and the mistakes I've made and what I should do differently. So if we look at the first one, this was a solo game. I dropped somewhere, I think it was Pachinki I dropped on this one, and my goal was to kill people. And the mistakes we'll do different was, should have backed off looting to clear the threat in the house. But then the M16 was on burst and I didn't tap fire. So what I should have done was kept a fully auto weapon or learnt the M16. And it's funny how you can remember these particular matches. So I remember in this one, I was in a house and I picked up an M16 and I think I had 30 rounds of ammo with it. But instead of immediately, I'm pretty sure the other guy was upstairs, rushing upstairs and blatting him with it, because an M16 with a clip in, that's enough to kill one person, I faffed around looking for other things, and then when I did engage the enemy, I at the time wasn't aware that the M16 was on burst. Now the M16 is either burst or single fire, it doesn't have fully auto. But because I thought it was an auto weapon, I pulled the trigger expecting the whole magazine to go and killed this guy, but didn't it? It just went and stopped, and then the guy killed me. Now, I'm much more conversant with the M16 now. I'm much better with it. And it is one of my favourite assault rifles, actually. But that's a good example. And the thing that I learnt from lots of my early games is you have to have the routine of when you pick up a gun, reload it straight away, and then check the fire pattern. Do you want it on auto, do you want it on burst, or do you want it on single fire? And also, as you're moving around, say you've just got an AK or an M16, you may well be swapping between fully auto or burst and single shot, depending on where enemy's going to be. When you're in an urban area, you'll be running on full auto because you're going to bump into people and you just want to take them down. If you're in a more open area or a wooded area, you want single shot so you've got accuracy. So let's have a look. So the next one, it was a solo type match. I dropped on school. The goal was some kill practice. I got one kill and I end up in 42nd place. So it was a great pistol kill on the school roof, a good scavenge. But then I took long distance shots when I didn't need to, with the M16 on burst when it should have been on single. I gave away my position and got Car 98 headshotted, so I should not have given away my position in such a common area. Yeah, again, I remember this one. So I came down, picked up a pistol, stayed on the roof, managed to blast somebody with a pistol, which is quite a rare thing, and then pretty much had one side of the school to myself, I think. In fact, it might have been Yeah, I did. I had one side of the school to myself, but I was looking across the courtyard to another guy who was on the other side of the building, and he was scavenging. So I thought, oh no, I'll take a pot shot at him with my M16. But this time the M16 was on burst when it probably should have been on single fire, because on burst, if they're up close, it's good, but you do get quite a lot of recoil. And I went, probably got him maybe with one shot, but not all three, and then he then moved. Because I'd fired my weapon, somebody else then realised where I was, and probably from the roof or something, then blatted me with the Car 98. So again, unless you've got a very good reason to shoot at somebody, like you've got a suppressor on, so you're not going to give your position away, or they're an immediate threat, or by blatting away at them, you're not going to get. It doesn't matter if you give your position away because you can move away, and you know you're going to get a kill. That's probably the most important thing. When you're going to take on somebody, make sure you're going to kill them, because otherwise they know where you are and they can flank round and kill you. So the next one. Here we go. Let's go forward a bit. So a solo match. I dropped south of Gatka. It was a win run. I didn't get any kills, but I ended up 7th. Top 10. So I was killed having to do a mad run to the final circle after being injured and pinned down. Should have checked cover better. Next time, move from cover to cover on way to circle, no matter how late to circle. Now, this is something I'm still getting my head around now, because I don't get to the final top 10 that many times. And so what happened again in this match was I got near the final circles, and then sometimes I kind of lose my situational awareness. I'm going to do a video about this, where I get very blinkered in the fact that, right, I need to get to the circle, fixating on getting to the middle of the circle when I should be more fixated on spiraling in using cover to make my way to the circle, so I'm not exposing myself, because often when you get to the last 2 circles, it's the people who move last who win. It's the people who are already in position. The people who move early and who are running in out of cover and into open areas are the ones that get blatted, because they're thinking, I don't want to die in the blue, I don't want to die in the blue. But if you move into an open area, you're going to die anyway. So you're better off spiralling around trying to take those people out. Also, it's much easier to avoid gunfire when you're moving fast than when you're just creeping in. So moving from cover to cover, looking for the people who are already there if you're late to the circle. Now, if you're early to the circle and you've already got a good position, obviously you're not going to move. But sometimes you have. Right, here we go. Oh, this was a good one. So a solo, it was a random drop. I was on a win run. I got 2 kills, and again ended up in the top 10, ended up 9th. So I did a long run around the island to the circle. So basically, the idea with that is that you make sure you can loot at places where there's not going to be any enemies. So I did a long run around the island to the circle. Suppress kills with the SRV. SRV, is that a rifle? Can't remember. Anyway, right, and then what happened was, I think we were probably in last circle but 3, and I was going up this hill, a lightly brushed hill, we did just like grass on it, and I saw a jeep up ahead. I could just see the top of the jeep on the peak, and what it was, I just stood up to have a look, and immediately got blatted by the guy who was obviously by the jeep. He might have even heard me coming. So obviously, as soon as you see a vehicle that's out of position, so it's not in a spawn location, your alarm should go up. Whoa, because the chances are people don't stay sat inside their vehicles. They always get out and find some cover around where they are. So as soon as I saw that jeep, I should have thought, whoa, this is dangerous. I should have then backed down the hill and then gone a big circle around to either engage by flanking and coming in and getting them, or moving on. So let's move on. So okay, so this was a solo run where I dropped in Pachinki. I wanted to do a win run. I ended up with 2 kills, and I ended up 3rd. So I had a good loot, including a silent scar. I had a good circle run, and the last small circles were in an open wooded area with everyone calling. Got caught by circle 1 when ADSing. Right, yeah, so I died in the blue. So I should have used gunshots to figure out where the enemies were, and not engaged Crawler as he wasn't crawling towards me and let others shoot it out. Yeah, again, this is one I remember, because what happens is when you're running into the final circles, or this happens in the first circles as well, is as soon as you're engaged in a gunfight with somebody, you lose track of time. And believe me, it's like the clock speeds up. So you may think, I've got a minute left before I need to move. You start getting into a gunfight and that minute disappears like that. And I think what happened with this one, I got obsessed by this guy who was crawling in, and I thought, right, I'm going to get him. When, unlike the previous example, at that point I should have seen the clock, and it was like, whoa, I've got a long way to go to get to the circle, and the last couple of circles, they do kill you pretty quick, and I should have moved, and I moved in, and then used where people have been firing before. That can give you an idea of where people are in the circle, and give you ideas of where you should be moving in that way. Okay, here's another solo. So my tactic, or my strategy, was to move from the edge of the sea from the east, I ended up with 1 kill and ended up second. So I had a great run in, had to use a motorbike once, got to the final circle, started taking bullets, couldn't see enemies. Alright, yeah, so should have spiraled in. So what happens is when you get to the last 2 circles, everything depends on, well, there's so many things, but the topography. So what's the terrain like, and where do the final circles land? If you're early to the circle and you're lucky and the circles land on you, it's fine. You can keep your position and you can look for people coming into the circle. You can hear them running and you'll see them moving, and you can stay prone or behind a rock or in a building, and you've got the advantage. If you've got to move into the circle though, or the last 2 circles, you know, when you'll have one circle inside the other, what you want to do often, depending on the terrain of, you know, what's around, is you want to get to the shallow side of the circle, so where the smaller circle is touching the bigger one, because you know that's where the enemies probably are, but that's also the safest place to be if you can go along the edge, like in like a spiral. And so the idea with this kind of thing is next time is when I'm in that situation and the larger side of the circle is, in fact this happened to me yesterday when I was playing a duo game, and the larger side of the circle is a death trap. It's open. You know that the other people will see you when you move into that open area. There's no point going there. You're going to die. You know, you might be thinking, I've got to go, I've got to get into the circle. But you do. They could be in the blue and they'll just stand up, they'll shoot you, you'll be dead, and if you're in the top sort of 2 or 3, chances are, you know, you're going to lose and give them the chicken dinner. But by spiralling in and taking them on and being aggressive and pushing, you can then force them out of position, take them on, black them, and then move in that way. What else have we got? This is a really funny one. So a solo run, I landed on the West Coast road. I quite like landing on the coast, pushing up in a vehicle, and then pushing in. So with this one, I landed on the West Coast. Again, it was a win run. I ended up 15th with 1 kill. So it was a late run to the military island. So I would have pushed either down or up the West Coast road, and then done a run over the bridge to military island. And then what happened was right on the circle was right on the south of the military island, and there were some rocks. So I managed to tuck my Jeep right in behind these rocks, so I was hidden. South of me was the sea, north of me was the rocks, and I think, did I take a kill at that point? I'm not sure. Anyway, what happened was, to start off, I was just sitting there, and then the circle came in again, and the circle was on the beach, so it was all open, apart from there was one like boat or wreck of a boat on the beach, which was pretty much the middle of the circle, and I decided to make a run for that. I thought, if I can get behind that with my back to the sea, I'll be able to see people coming to me and I can take them off. And so what I did was I got in my Jeep, and what I should have done was put my foot down and zoom across the beach and jump out and get into cover. But for some reason I had the idea of, if I go slow, people won't hear me, forgetting the fact that with the vehicles, even when they're just burbling along quietly, they're still really noisy. And it happened to be there was a guy on the other side of the rocks. He obviously probably heard me get into the car, heard the door slam, heard me start to tickle it down the beach, because the beach has a bit of a curve, and I thought I might be a little bit hidden. And I guess he just came behind me and unloaded a clip through the window into me, and because the car was going so slowly, that was it. I was dead. Right, we'll do one more, and then we'll. What's the last one I've got? Actually, no. Let's do this one. All right, yeah, this was a classic one. So a solo run. I landed on the East Coast Road, and my strategy was for a win run by chasing the centre. I ended up 4th with 1 kill. So I had a really good loot. I chased the centre, and I was guessing, luckily guessing. I quite like using this strategy where in the last sort of last 4 circles, you drive from house to house, hiding in houses and defending the house. And quite often, if there's a number of houses together, you can run from house to house as well. These are the ones that are in the fields. I mean, it still happens for urban areas as well, but you've got to have a lot of luck, because it depends if anybody's in the house already. And then I think I got. When did I get? Oh, right, yeah. I hadn't got any kills at this point, so I think I was like top 6, something like that. And then the circle was outside of these houses. I was in one house. I had to move to a second to stay in the circle, and it was outside. It was a wooded area outside, some light trees. I thought, well, I've got to make a break for it. I'll spiral around the outside of the circle. So I came out the back entrance of my house, because that, near the blue, because that was the safest thing. I moved round the house. I heard someone behind me. They must have been late to the blue. I turned round and I had a quick fire. They fired at me. I shotgunned them and I took them out. The blue was then moving and it was right on me. And then I started running, and then somebody else started firing at me. I span around to see where they were, and then completely lost my bearings. And I ended up just running around in circles in the blue, and I died to the blue and ended up 4th. So, and this is something I'm very guilty of, I find it very difficult to see in my mind where the circle is when it gets small. When I'm looking at a field, I'm thinking, right, okay, and looking at the mini-map, okay, that's the circle. What does that mean? Where do I have to go? But I'm getting better at it. But one of the tools I use is that when the circle changes, I put my marker in the middle of that circle. So I've always got my coloured marker right. At least if I get a little bit lost, I know straight towards that marker, or to the left or the right of it slightly, will get me into the circle, at least if I'm getting confused and, say, running through a house or running round a rock, or trying to avoid people. So there we go, a PUBG log. Again, you might find it useful. I mean, for more advanced players, you're probably looking at this thinking, well, all this stuff's bloody obvious, you should be doing that anyway. But for me, it's not, and I found PUBG being a very steep learning curve. But I've got to the point now where I've got a couple of solo wins, I've got a duo win, I've got sort of 3 squad wins, and I'm happy with how I'm learning the game now. I've got a long way to go, but I'm happy by I'm learning. But this log enables me to write down those mistakes, and importantly, write down what I should have done differently, so next time I do it. So anyway, it's just an idea. You might find it useful, and give it a go. Anyway, that's enough from me. Thank you very much for watching. Hit like if you enjoyed the video, press subscribe if you want to see more of the same. Put your questions and comments down below, and I will see you again soon.